Coach Udoka. They even called him on camera, Coach Udoka. And the crazy part about it is that the staff member was married to someone else in the Boston Celtics organization. Yeah, Coach Udoka was messy. I don't mean to judge, but it's public information. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification, as it helps the content to be pushed on to more potential subscribers, as well as the people who have already subscribed to the channel. Subscribe yourself if you haven't, and also please tell a friend. And last but not least, if this is your first time viewing Straight Game TV and you would like to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and hit the bell notification that's right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Udoka, this is a sad situation. And the reason why I say it's sad, because here's a guy who played in the NBA, knew all of the rules, went through all of the training, and all of the information that they give you about groupies, as well as, in their contract, they have a clause in which you're not supposed to be having any kind of relationships with staff members in the organization. You know what I mean? That's just to keep the organization running clean and keep all of the conflict of interest out of the way and things of that nature. So I'm not going to judge him for having an affair, but what I'm going to judge him for is his lack of accountability, as far as knowing that, you know what, you could have did what you wanted to do, but where you chose to do it. And I think, Coach Udoka right now, I think he's probably sitting back saying, yeah, the same thing, and allegedly how they found out about it, through some kind of Ring doorbell, if you will, a home doorbell camera, through a private conversation, through a doorbell camera. And so when you deal with that, that makes it even worse, because here's the thing. You know that you're not supposed to be doing this, but yet you do it anyway, not even thinking about Nia Long and his family from that perspective. The women can get over a lot of things, you know what I mean, especially when they love you, you know what I mean. We make mistakes, nobody's perfect. And so from that perspective, but to make the ultimate mistake that you're not supposed to make, not even thinking about, let's say, first of all, your job, right? In which you provide for your family. Not to say that he needs it or he doesn't need it. You know what I mean? You took on a job and you're responsible for all of those players that are on that team. You're the quintessential leader. So therefore, first off, you let them down. Then you let your job down. Then you go to your family. Then, from what I understand, the staff member that he was having a relationship with, she was married. And so all of those things that come into play from Coach Udoka's perspective, as well as the staff member. Coach Udoka catching a lot of flack, but the staff member who he allegedly had the affair with deserves the same responsibility, and also deserves to be mentioned, as this was a consensual relationship. So I don't know why they're trying to hide her name in regards to this when Nia Long and her son, Coach Udoka, she needs to be brought out too, because she played an equal role in this situation. But because he's the coach of the Boston Celtics, he's bearing the brunt of it. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he asked me, he's like, man, don't you think that's foul? That they suspended him. I was like, yo, it's deeper than that. And once I began to explain to him, I'm going to explain it to you. It wasn't just that he had the affair. If he just had the affair and that's what it was, then they probably could have overlooked that. But you got to look at the long-term ramifications or possible accusations that could be made against Coach Udoka down the line. So let's say they let that go. Matt Barnes was talking about it, and let's say that they let it go, and they say, well, it was consensual. We're not going to, bring it to the public eye and so on and so forth. No. First off, when you do that, let's say the staff member says, and which has come out, this is before it came out, these unwanted advances and unwanted whatever and so on and so forth. Let's say later on down the line, if they had let this pass and swept it under the rug, she came out and said, Coach Udoka, he raped me. Right? Now we have this Bill Cosby situation. And then now it's going to come out that the Boston Celtics organization knew about it and they did nothing. So for everybody who was saying that, oh man, it was consensual, it was this, it was that, this is not personal for the Boston Celtics. It's business. And so that's where people get their relationships mixed up, when they're in the business relationship and they get into this personal thing with people thinking that their personal relationship outweighs the business relationship. No, it started off as a business relationship. Him once being a basketball player, now him becoming the coach. There's a contract you sign, right? And so by signing that contract, there's certain guidelines and stipulations in that contract that you must abide by. So now it's come to light that the staff member, the female, her husband found out about the relationship. It first came out basically through a home security camera conversation, if you will. And so and that's alleged. Don't know how really true that is, because there's a lot of speculation going around. So that says to me that the relationship was a little bit more than just some kind of fling. It was an ongoing thing, right? And then now you have to go and deal with the situation with Nia Long, who was the object of everybody's affection, during the 90s. Like I said, when she was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, she did all the movies that she did. I mean, so many hip hop artists have mentioned her name. I mean, because she was that girl. You know what I mean? That it girl. Like everybody wanted her. Everybody wanted to be with her. You know what I mean? And I had the opportunity to meet Nia Long one time. It was back in the 90s at the House of Blues. She's short. I didn't know she was that short, but she's gorgeous. She's beautiful, very nice, very respectful. So I kind of feel for her. My heart go out to her and her son and her family. You know what I mean? Because she shouldn't be having to deal with something like this. And like I said, once again, out of all of the people that Coach Udoka could have dealt with in that situation, it wasn't what he did, but it was more how he did it, to be perfectly honest. Because like I say, women sometimes can be very forgiving, if you will, and and look past some things, and for whatever it is, we don't know what their personal relationship was at that particular time, and so for that reason, we can't really speculate. But what we do know is the fact of the matter is that, you chose to deal with a staff member, which you knew, number one, was wrong. You knew, number two, that there was a stipulation in your contract that you wasn't supposed to do that. Number three, not thinking about the fact that, was she really worth it? And would she be the type of individual that if the shit ever hit the fan, would she be the type of person that would come out and try to blame it all on Coach Udoka? Because that's basically what they're doing. He had an affair with a staff member. Well, no, the staff member also actually had an affair with Coach Udoka. You understand what I mean? And so it's the way that they paint the picture, if you will, as if, he's this all powerful guy, having an affair with this weak, submissive, helpless, staff member. No, she wanted it just as much as he did. And she also had just as much to lose from the perspective as well as her job. And from what I understand, she was married, and how the situation came about to be found out. You understand what I'm saying? That's the part that makes it even worse. But when you think about that, the conversation overheard on a home security camera, and so if that story is true, that's even more damning, because that's more information that somebody could potentially put out there, just making, a bad situation worse. So yeah, I mean, like I said, once again, it's totally irresponsible of all parties, but like I said, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. And like I said, my heart goes out to Nia Long and her family, her son, and all of that, because, her son possibly has to hear about this in school, and yeah, I heard about your dad, and da 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 da, and so on and so forth. So, it's a very it's a complicated situation, and it's more than meets the eye for most people, like I said before, because of what people were saying. Oh, it was consensual. Oh, it was this. Yeah, but if the Boston Celtics didn't deal with and suspend him and get in front of this like they were supposed to, never let the story get in front of you, you always try to get in front of the story, then this possibly could have been a Bill Cosby situation, and where it got swept underneath the rug. Here comes a lawsuit against the Boston Celtics because they were complicit in this alleged, if she had alleged later on down the line, had they swept it underneath the rug, like I say, that he some way and somehow Coach Udoka sexually assaulted her. It didn't have to happen. All she had to do was make the allegations, right? And so and have some kind of piece of clothing with his DNA on it, And so from that perspective, the Boston Celtics had to do something about this situation. They could not sweep this situation under the rug. It was business for them. It was not personal. And so, people were saying like, well, there was other NBA players and coaches and so on and so forth that had relationships with, staff members and so on and so forth. And then people were comparing the situation to the owner of the Phoenix Suns, Mr. Sarver. Right? It's not the same. It's not the same. And the reason that it's not the same, as we've seen, Mr. Sarver has now said that he will sell the Phoenix Mercury as well as the Phoenix Suns, because he doesn't feel like he can be forgiven for the things that he said and the things that he done. Right? And I'm glad that he's selling it. You know what I mean? Because there's no room. You're supposed to be this billionaire guy who owns a team, and you still on this little racist little thing you on. You still and calling, considering black people niggas, talking about using. The crazy part was, as it related to the player DeAndre, right? Let's get strippers here so that he can get the strippers pregnant, so that he could want to play and stay in Phoenix. This is what the owner of the Phoenix Sun was considering, as overheard by his staff members. Let's get some strippers, introduce him to DeAndre, let him get them pregnant, so he would want to stay in Phoenix when his contract was up. Amazing, right? The use of the N-word and so on and so forth. So Coach Udoka's situation and Mr. Sarver's situation, two different situations. There was an investment made on Mr. Sarver's side of things, and so when you suspend him, he's an owner, so it's not the same thing as being an employee. Coach Udoka was an employee of an organization who had an owner, So there was the employer and the employee. And so that's the reason why that's not the same. You can't weigh those situations on the same scale, even on a different day. It's not the same. And so from that perspective, that's, like I say, a lot of people will come in with this false equivalency of, what that is and what Coach, the owner, Mr. Sarvers is versus Coach Udoka. So please stop making that unrealistic comparison, if you will. Like I said, both situations are unfortunate, but at the end of the day, when you think about it, dealing with Coach Udoka, it's like, he has a lot to unfold and unpack at this particular time, because based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nights of fun, if you will, you basically you lost your job. You can say suspension for a year or so on and so forth. You basically lost your job because you'll never be looked at the same way again. And the public is very, sometimes depending on who you are, the public can be very forgiving or the public can be very unforgiving, especially in Boston, if you know what I mean. And so from that perspective, like I said, it's very unfortunate, right? So yeah, I just wanted to chime in on this. Leave your comments and tell me what you think about the situation. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.